So my talk is about AI, of course. Everyone's talking about AI nowadays. And I will just start immediately with a problem, right? We are at PyData, we have RightGate, does data analysis, we all do data analysis, data scientists, right? And imagine we have a problem. I don't know, we want to analyze financial statements, whatever. We have it in Excel, of course. Right? And we have all data in Excel. We have it in document, whatever. And there's this field. Let's just ask LLM, it's not my bother. Let's just ask it. There's this field that is extremely useful. And I think everyone did that at least once, right, with their documents. So, by the way, if you have a question, just feel free to interrupt me, right? So, do you feel the same? Who feels the same? Just raise your hand.
Yes.
Yes. So there is the same feeling. There is obviously a problem, right? You're all aware about the problem. Is that if you ask it like extremely basic mathematical arithmetic, it just hallucinates. It just gives you some nonsensical answer. It's just like it's like you have seen this news everywhere. And even worse, it can not only hallucinate, it's super sure about the answer. Right? And you ask it like, yeah, you sure? Yeah, sure. 100%.
And what's worse, we accept it.
Yeah, it's 100%. You know this reference? Who knows this reference? Yeah. Okay.
Who raised the hand? Okay, it's sweet, yes. We're going to get the sugar levels up here. Okay.
Okay, so there's this feeling that we can use it, but we also know that it's just incapable of basic math. It cannot do that. So the question is, and the main theme of the presentation, is can we trust it? Because every day we see this news that LLMs solve another mathematical problem, whatever. They claim it, they solve unsolved problems for centuries. Can we trust this, really? Or better to ask how we trust it? Because, again, we would like to ask this kind of questions. Why not? And if it hallucinates, then how do we test it, or what do we do? So, can we give ChatGPT or whatever LLM, just give a calculator, essentially? Right? And just instead of asking it to hallucinate the answer, we just ask it to use the calculator, do the real math. Yes. Well, actually, okay. Who knows the answer? Who knows how to do that? How would you do that? Okay. Is there another answer? Yes. So yes, the question, the answer was correct, of course. We use tools. So there's this thing, very, very like modern, very spicy thing now. It's called Model Context Protocol, MCP, which is like super confusing because when I first time saw this, I couldn't understand. There's no context, there's no protocol, there's no model. It's three random words. So it's better for you actually to remember it's MCP. And not like model context protocol, because it doesn't make sense. So there's this thing called MCP, and indeed it provides you like a lot of things. It provides you tools, kind of a progress notification, memory, whatever. But the idea here is that it allows you to connect your ChatGPT or what you use with a calculator, right? And we, of course, for the purpose of this talk, I will just show you how to use tools or what we can achieve. And this is the way to do that in Python. In Python, there's this library called FastMCP. It's the factor of everyone uses that. If they have a new feature, it just goes to MCP standard. So I actually don't know any other cool way to use this MCP. And it's super easy. So this library is super easy. This is, for example, how we define a simple tool. Right? So we have an actual function in Python. It can have arguments. And the cool thing about it is that we can just basically document this function. And this documentation is being used directly as a prompt to LLM. So this is super cool. So you can both document it, what it is doing, and LLM will actually understand it better. And you can add some text to it, of course, blah blah. And this is what we are going to use for the MCP part. So for the tool definitions, the name description, and for the calculator, we are going to use this package in Julia called RxInfer. And there are several reasons for that. So first of all, we want the result to be like super fast because we don't want to interrupt the process of this ChatGPT kind of field. It also gives you uncertainty estimates, does the proper Bayesian reasoning, and just happen to be an author of this package. It's a coincidence, right? And this is how it looks like. You can scan the QR code. There's an example. But, the problem is that the library scope is written in Julia and fastest is in Python. There are packages that come up, so it's not easy. And you can also do it in any language you want. Pretty much in any language, there's a fast MCP equivalent. So this is how my tool looks like. It just accepts a file. It does some kind of processing. It's not nothing. Not right. So, live now. The scariest. So, I will try to demonstrate how it actually works and what you can do. At least, so imagine I have a data set in Excel. And this data set has like some kind of whatever housing information. Okay? There's like a number of bedrooms, number of bathrooms, living area, basement area, the area has been built, label, blah, blah. And also the price of the house has been built. This is our data set. And I will try to play that. Okay. So I kind of started already, just sure. So I use Clone, right? And but you can use it in any other language. And I have this thing called locally on my computer, and the whole thing works exactly on my computer. So let's say I just ask it, okay, do you know what's RxInfer? Can you use it as a tool? And it says, yeah, sure, I know. It's super cool library, like the best, and it's also developed in Eindhoven. I also know this. And it says like, okay, it's like blah, 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 we know, so it handles uncertainty. And I have some tools in my session. This is super cool. So let's say I also have a file, just give it the code back because it didn't bother to code it properly. It's just okay, can I please run some Bayesian analysis? Let's just do some math. Whatever. Who knows what Bayesian does anyway? And then we see, okay, it starts doing some stuff. It's working. It's working. It's super cool. Okay, then let's see. So it says, yeah, it ran successfully, super cool, and it even gives me some statistics about my data set. Super nice. And let's do something else. It's like so boring. I don't want to read this. It's boring. Let's see.
But you need to go, what's actually happening behind the scenes?
So behind the scenes, Claude is actually using RxInfer to load the file, to get the columns from this data set, to build the model, probabilistic model, and tries to build the model from the columns to the price. So in the data set, there's the price of the house sold, and some components of the house. And then it builds a probabilistic model, how these components influence the price.
But how does it know what to use? It's based on what you specify?
It looks at the columns in the data set and builds a nonlinear regression. Right? Yes?
Yeah, so we also sometimes do MCP surveys. But what we actually experienced that it's really hard to really grasp the question behind the question with the essence. So I can imagine in your tool, you also have the same type of multiplier, so you need to define what are the things that I can expect from
Yes, yes.
So is this included in your package or did you build it yourself?
So the question is, if I would summarize it, the MCP tools are unreliable in a sense. You need to prompt them. Yes, very true, very true. This we can talk about at the end a little bit, but there is a problem with this. For this particular example, yes, I have a very specific model that I know that will work. Okay, perfect. And look at this. It actually, this is super cool. I didn't know that the code can do this, but it just created some dashboards for me. And the cool thing about it is I can even tell you, like, yeah, I don't like the blue color. Let's do it in red or red. Okay. Oh, we even have a button. But okay, for the purpose of the demo, I will do the phone. Okay.
I'm a little disappointed you're not speaking to Cloud.
Yeah, okay, sorry. But I can, you can see what I'm typing, right? So I want to buy a house, 2 bedrooms, just want to use my 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 2 floors, approximately, yeah, whatever living area. And by the way, I don't even need to type proper English here because it's a but let's say, I don't know actually when it has been built. And I also don't know. Let's just see what it's going to do. I just don't know. Maybe the website didn't tell me that. So it calls my tool. It calls RxInfer. This is the model under the hood that I actually trust. I trust the output. And let's see. So it says like, okay, here is a known, and we have now an uncertainty estimate. So it's not just gives me an answer, but it actually also gives me, okay, I'm actually not sure, because we all know that the label is actually very important, kind of label, and maybe the house is like super old and needs a lot of maintenance. So there's a huge uncertainty in the estimate. Okay, so let's do the phone. Okay, I actually called the owner. And now, what year?
2003.
2003. The label is it's from 1 to 5, so that's it. Okay, let's see what is done. And by the way, in this process, I can also see what it's actually doing. So you remember I did a typo here, right? I did like leaving area. But if you can see here, LLM actually saved me and it interpreted it correctly. So, and in this process, you can also see how does LLM actually calls your tool, what kind of arguments and what kind of response it gives you. So even if you're still not sure, you can always double check. And RxInfer is super fast. And now we see that with this new information, that the house is built in 2003 and we have a label A+, we actually has a way better estimate. So before, you can see this distribution was super flat. There was like a lot of uncertainty around this. But now we know a bit better. But still, it's still not certain because the data set is not super complete. It has like some missing data in it, etc. And RxInfer, under the hood, actually, for all the regression parameters, it is also probability distribution. So I don't know, maybe those parameters were also uncertain. Okay, do you want to ask it something? Yes.
So when a new housing sale comes in, how is the posterior uncertainty of the price propagated?
So actually, yes, I didn't have time to code that. So the question is, if there is new information comes in, how does it update? So RxInfer in principle does support that. So when you can put new information into it and update the same information, even new information, and if you have time to code it, so it does not this way. So, do you want to ask it something? Yes. Huh? Mhm. It depends. So it is the same as like with typical machine learning with PyTorch, for example, right? If you code your model in such a way that it supports a dynamic dimension, then it will work, right? So for this particular demo, I designed my model, and it has a fixed number of columns. It wants this specific number of columns.
So what if you add crime rate to it?
What?
Crime. So
Yes,
something
we
that
could add crime rate to the model, and that hopefully will give us better estimates. Yes.
No, so the question is, I want to use information that you don't have access to now.
For example, you mean if I tell it that the crime
Rate is high in that case.
I don't want to have.
Like
Let's see what will happen. But I mean, I will also talk a little bit later in my presentation what actually leads to in general. Unfortunately, no. RxInfer model was trained purely on structural features, so it does not work.
But just as a sanity check,
Yeah.
you configure this explicitly to only reach out to your MCP server, right?
Well, I just don't have any other tool, and in the beginning, I just explicitly prompted like to use RxInfer. But you can indeed have many different connectors. For example, you see that there is RxInfer, but Claude by itself also has like a tool to go to Google. You can also connect it to your Google Docs, etc. So you can actually control it, right? So you can have an RxInfer server, and you can have a PyTorch server, for example. And you can ask it to do analysis in both, and then see to compare the result. Okay, maybe I have a little bit more time, right? So, okay.
Nice demo if Cloud Code next to it, asking it to do the same with generated software.
But okay, we can try.
You have to switch to Cloud Code.
But what I want still to show is, for example, indeed, given the definition of the tool, so this tool is just for demonstration purposes, right? It's not really super sophisticated. But let's say we want to see what are the most influential. Let's just see if it understands our response. Can we do this? What is the most influential parameter when we buy a house? Okay, what it does is basically so I can figure out this empirically by removing one feature at a time and seeing how much to insert in the growth. Right? Kind of reasonable. Okay, we can wait. Maybe. Or maybe okay. So what it's doing is actually calling RxInfer many times with different arguments. So for example, here it probably omitted some kind of a column or value to see, okay, how does it actually change the result? So again, in the whole process, you can just double check what it's doing. Okay, so the most influential, according to this dataset, this kind of model, is the year field, and the least influential is Bayesian. Do you trust this? Okay, so but I built this model and I trust this model. So the point here is you can play with it, right? You can just ask the questions in kind of a natural language. I really like that in question. But at least you can just ask some kind of questions in English. It's so cool. It's like we don't need Python. We just can use English. We're basically programming now in Markdown. It's a new programming language. So, and I can ask all kind of questions and it gives me all kind of dashboards. Maybe I don't need it, but at least I can ask it, okay, I don't like this dashboard, make it red and make it like a bar chart. And then this is just in case if they want to crash. But again, the point is the same. I can ask the same questions. And now, if I say, okay, can you analyze some kind of document for me? And if I know that I have a tool that can handle this, I can actually trust it. And if I know that it called this specific tool, as long as you trust this tool, I think you can trust the outcome. And again, we don't have to stop here, right? So why do we only use RxInfer? Let's use PyTorch. Let's add some pandas to it and like ask it to pre-process some data. For example, yeah, we don't have to do it by hand anymore. Let's just say, okay, normalize it, okay, impute missing data to something, transform categoricals to whatever. And if you know what you're doing, you will pretty much get the same result if you do it by hand. We can go even further. Let's connect it to Google Drive. Let's connect it to Notes, Mail. Let's let it Google, and it's already doing. And of course, people would say it's a security breach. Right?
Yes.
Right? But I actually think it's completely okay. Because your data actually not going to the LLM.
The way you set it up.
Yes, it's the way it is. But in my opinion, it actually makes it better in terms of security because what LLM is doing only is trying to figure out how to call your tools and with what kind of arguments. It actually never sees data. And so in my example at least, I only gave it a file path. So it never actually read the file. It only read, so you can, for example, maybe add some metadata to the file to help guide LLM what kind of file to keep. But in principle, it doesn't see that. It doesn't see the content. And of course, it works with all kinds of LLMs, right? And if you're really, really concerned about security, okay, you can self-host it. So, kind of problem solved. And what LLM here is doing is basically just interprets your requests and prepares the arguments for your tools. And you can do it in natural language and you can do what kind of mistakes. So English is not my native language, so maybe I don't know how to phrase it properly. But it can still understand it very well. And then during the talk, I was thinking, okay, during your talk, can Bloom doesn't do that? Can I do that? It was super cool if I could do that. If there is a tool like SDK, just connect an SDK to an LLM, and I just can just say, okay, I want a server. I want this kind of server.
And then it's the question, I think, also Ruby or some other parties already set up MCP, right?
Yes, maybe they already do.
Yeah. And that is also my question that I try to ask. So you really have to know what the question is that people are going to ask in this product, right? Like,
You can start simple with like some kind of typical questions, and then you can just log maybe what kind of questions users ask.
You need a question in the back.
Yes.
So I have a question from a few slides back actually. There was one question from the crowd, it's like which variables explain the most of whatever I'm guessing. But for example, let's say you're a skilled statistician like you. I would like to measure the covariance of the posterior, which kind of explains his answer. Would it make sense to plug in a different large language model or anything to improve the guesstimate of what I'm asking? Because it started doing a bunch of calls to RxInfer while really, calculating the covariance of the posterior was more than enough, for example. So one, would a mere individual like me be able to ask it basic questions and efficiently yield an answer? Or do I still need some domain knowledge about this Bayesian stuff to come up with an efficient and clean answer? And how does an LLM impact, let's say it's Claude and tomorrow it's my self-hosted model, how does this impact the answer?
That's a good question. So the question, if I summarize it, do I still need a knowledge or be a scientist to interpret the result correctly or not?
Yeah, more efficiently prompt the model.
Or more efficiently prompt this. I think at the moment, yes, it would need to be. I think the idea here is that you can trust the output, even if you're not a professional, if you can trust the underlying tool.
But I could maybe optimize for input, right, in some way. And does the LLM or wherever the understanding lies of my question, let's say, however it's suggested, have a major influence? Say I do this on my local 1 billion number.
Yes, I think you also need to be careful how to prompt it. Yes, yeah. At least at the moment.
Yeah, sure.
At least at the current year.
I'd say the answer here would be you write a cloud skill which captures your knowledge on how to prompt a tool
Yeah.
and understands the plain kind of user.
Yeah. Exactly. So there is this new feature in Claude that is super cool actually. Let's say you are not like a good software engineer, or you don't really write software, and there might be a skill that explains how to do like a commit or a pull request. And so you don't have to actually know how to do it yourself, but there might be a description how to do that, and you can give this description to an LLM, and it will follow it step by step.
So if I understand correctly, we can upload the skill to Cloud and it pulls it from somewhere and it would say, if I ask for the most influential variable, use this.
Exactly, that's that. Yes. Okay. How many on time?
Not really, but
Okay. One more. So just to set the discussion for the rest of the evening for everyone, right? So I think that the term AI is really unfortunate. It's super unfortunate. It's basically like a marketing thing. But
Apple intelligence.
Apple intelligence. What I see this thing is actually, it's not an AI, that is the best UI. The best UI. And I will explain it. So I could do it myself, right? The whole analysis I could do myself. And I could open Excel and I could do this regression in Excel. But the sheer amount of buttons I would have to click is just like unbelievable. Have you ever seen that there's a button paste in document? Have you ever used this button to paste?
My wife does.
This is like just it's so bad. There is even an emoji there. What is it doing? You see this? This is just so bad. So I could do this, but I just don't know where to click. It's just so bad. I don't know how to do it. On the other hand, I don't know. It's just one button. And this button does what I wanted to do. It's the best UI ever created. It's everything reduced to a single button. There's no other buttons necessary. If I want to change the color of the graph,
Good question. You have to be careful with one button. I think they made a clause like open source 2 days ago because the one button.
I think they should just open source it. Yeah, open source is cool. At this point, they should just open source. But okay, of course, there are some hiccups. Sure, if you don't know how to use this one button, okay, you can use this other things. But the point here is that I actually really like it because it removes this burden of this complex UIs. I also, for example, don't use VS Code because I find it just difficult. It's just, there's so many buttons there. So I just created
But
my
you're
own
not
new
talking
thing.
to Cloud.
Huh?
You're not vocally talking to Cloud.
Yeah, but now in Cursor or in VS Code, you can just have this one button and everyone is using this one. It's so easy. And by the way, while I was preparing for the presentation, I opened Claude, and they actually just advertised. I couldn't make a screenshot, unfortunately, because it was so fast. But they said, "Do you want to use Claude in Excel?" So I was like, "Wait a minute." So they literally already. But what I just showed is already obsolete. They already did that. And so they already gave you tools, exactly what I tried to show, It's like navigate complex multi-tab workflows seamlessly, build new models, debug errors. So that's already this one button to put data. So yeah, that was my talk. I hope you liked it.
Sit up. Take a few questions.
Questions?
Come on. It's a good one. Okay, yeah.
Yes.
Could you use Claude to help you write RxInfer?
No, because that's a great question. So RxInfer has been written long ago, before the LLMs. So
6 months ago.
no, but RxInfer started in 2019. So LLMs weren't really good back then. So no, we did it hard way. And I'm working as a software engineer for like 10 years, and I'm doing it hard way for 10 years. But recently, so for example, I had made some bad design decisions in RxInfer, let's say, which I really don't like. But you understand it later, right? So you make a decision, and then there's a bad decision. And what I found, what is extremely useful is to test how would I change that. Right? So I said, okay, this is the thing, I really don't like it. I actually wanted to work it differently. And I said, okay, this is where it's being used, this is where it's documented, this is what you would need to change if you would want to change that, and all the files. So it actually creates me the entire kind of plan of what I need to do to actually change that. And then I hit the limit, and I'll have to do it by hand. So, but I find Claude and LLMs super useful to analyze documents. Basically, this is again one button, right? So can you do it in VS Code? And go through all the documentation, go through all the tests, through all the source, and basically tell me where the thing is being used. Obviously, correct. Okay. I don't know how to use it. So this is super hard. So I asked them.
Very good then. A big round of applause for Dimitri. Woo!